Welcome back. So let's actually start building this web API. The web API belongs in this area, the outermost area right here. So instead of our current user interface, which is a console app, we're going to make a new project here called web API. That's going to communicate to the service, that's going to communicate to the infrastructure, repositories, and it's going to return data to the web service and present it to the world. We'll talk a lot more about the web API and what it does for us later on. First of all, let's try and figure out how we can create such a web API. And there's actually a guide right here you can also find in a link in the description below. If you want to, you can go and read about the web API right here. It's like an hour read. It's a pretty quick one if you want to kind of check it out. One thing to mention is they're not using the layering or the architecture that we are using. They're actually not really using any architecture here at all. So maybe some of the things you'll have to move those around, but the examples here are still really great. And we're going to end up with a similar setup like they have right here with to-do items. We're going to have the same thing, but with videos instead. Sweet. But how do we actually do it? Well, let's jump into the code. Let's place this again under the UI right here. We're going to place it under that solution folder. I'm going to make a new project, and the project is going to be an ASP.NET Core web application. It's very important to pick this one under .NET Core and not under .NET Framework, because that's the one we're using right now is 5.0, which is this area up here. We're going to make a name for it, and let's just, again, I put in the company name first always when I make projects. Then I put in the name for the application I'm working on, and then I'm putting in the package name for that application in the end right here, 2021, and it's going to be the web API package. So I have a full name right here for my project. The second one is just a folder it's creating for me, no problem there. I pick web API here because I'm building a REST API or a web API in my case, and it's going to, the other ones, we can talk about those another day, but this is RPC calls. It's another way to communicate over the wire. Razor, Web App, React, and Angular, they are all front-end development setups, but we want to build a back-end REST API right here. So that's why we're picking Web API. We're picking C#, not F#. We are just select authentication for now, because then we can add authentication later on. If you pick no authentication, it's not rocket science to get started, but it just adds a couple of lines of code for us that we can remove or add if we don't want to have them in the end. So we'll just keep this one for now. Docker support, let's not do that now, it's for another day. So we'll press create right here and we'll get our first web API up and running. Now notice it's red right here. It's not because there's an error, it's actually because it's not added to Git yet. So what I want to do is I just want to create a new branch where I work with the web API to kind of separate what I'm working on right now. So I'll do a Git, I'll do a checkout like this, and I'll do a -b to also generate a branch while I check it out. And I just want to call it web API. Now, if you are not that strong with working with Git yet, I really encourage you to go and check out a link like this that just talks a little bit about how you do branching and merging. It's a good way to work if you kind of create a branch that just takes care of specific jobs for you, and then you merge them back to, in my place, I call it the starter branch, which is the branch that launches everything. If I want to see all my branches available, I can do like this, git branch, and I can actually see what branch I'm on and what branches are available. So in your case, if you just open my code, you would be on the starter branch in the beginning like this. Let's just do right here, git branch, so you can see that. And then whenever you want to switch, you can just do a git checkout, and you can do web API right here, and then you would actually move to that branch if it is available. So that's what we can do right here. We can switch branches like this. And I want to switch branch now because I want to actually start creating a web API branch that only focuses on me creating this web API for you. And then later we'll make a feature branch for each feature that we build. Let's just check this in. So I'll do a git, add everything to get rid of that red error looking thing up here, so you don't mistake that with an error. I'll do a git commit, I'll do am to just commit everything, adding web API. That would be the first commit. And I'll do a git push to get that branch into the cloud. I can say origin, that's where I'm at right now, and then I want to go to the new branch called web API to get this into the cloud. There we go. Now it's been pushed to the video application in the cloud, and I'll just keep them there so you guys can check them out later if you want to. But honestly, whenever I would do a merge, I would actually remove that branch. But this would actually mean that now the red line is gone, and now everything is black right here. Sweet. So now we have a running application, a running REST API, and let's just switch to it and try it out before we continue. So I'll do web API, and I'll do run right here to get it started. And just let it run, give it a second. There we go. It opens up a browser for me, and here out of the box you're getting something called Swagger. We'll dive into that, and Swagger is a way for us to see the available API we have. It seems we have a GET request built in from the beginning, and I can try it out right here, and I can press execute, and I can see right here that it tries to authenticate me, but it couldn't, so it throws an exception, you are not authenticated. And let's just fix that. I'll just go back, and now we can have a look at the actual code we have available now with this new project. Just quickly, we have weather forecast, which is just a class. It's just a property. I'll get rid of that in a second. We have a startup file. This is a very important file. This is where we do all the configuration of our project. Already next lesson, we'll have to dive into this code actually. So we'll get back to that. We have a program file. Just like in a console application, you have a public static void main to get started. It's the same with a normal console application. And then we have some JSON files for some app settings right here. We won't dive into those yet, but this could be different depending if you're doing production code or development code. Don't worry, we'll also have a look at that later. We have some properties like here in launch settings. You can say, should I launch the browser every time where I start the API? I would say no, I don't want to launch the browser every time. I just want to refresh the browser. It's a lot easier for me. And there's also what the application URL you want to start at and stuff like that. So that's what that file is all about. And then we have controllers right here. And that's actually the REST API itself. That's actually what we're going to build and work with. And out of the box, you get a free controller. Notice right here, we have a property called authorize. I'll get rid of that because I don't want authentication right now. It explains this is a controller. This is where we can enter our REST API. It explains the route for the REST API. We'll dive into all of this. And right now we have a pre-built web API right here that can make some forecasts for us. And that's what we're actually seeing when we're calling that GET request in a second. So I'll dive into all of this. Don't worry, this will be the code for the next upcoming lessons. But now you kind of just got an overview about all this code that we have out of the box. Let's just restart the application quickly. Let me just show you that when you remove that authorize attribute up here, you can actually now go and get a weather forecast. If I do an execute again, boom, I have a weather forecast. It's not perfect, but it just shows that everything is running in my system right here. So I can now call this API right here. So that was just creating a simple web API. Next lesson, we're going to try and actually start using this web API to make our own controller that can actually get a list of videos. So that's it for this lesson. See you next time. Bye.